Hi guys, and welcome to what will be the first video of my channel. So it being my first video, I'm probably going to say a lot. I'm probably going to be super awkward, but let's push all that aside and hope that this video really helps you. And if you find that it does, please like and subscribe and let me know any topics you'd love to hear about in the future. Today's video is a little bit about emotional binge eating. I have a lot of clients and a lot of people message me who seem to all struggle with a really similar issue. Pretty much what happens is they'll be going really well, they'll be going to the gym, training really well, food's going well, but then they'll have one bad day and they end up, something switches and they resort to food to try and kind of like help those negative emotions. So they'll start overeating, occasionally to the point they'll feel overly full or even sick because the food is kind of like a distraction from those negative feelings for a temporary amount of time. What tends to happen after is people kind of snap out of that automatic response and tend to feel really guilty. They have a lot of negative feelings towards themselves. They can feel things like shame, disappointment, and those negative feelings are like a domino effect, and it just ends up getting worse and worse and worse, and it can really affect your self-esteem as well. I'm quite understanding when it comes to this topic and people dealing with this because I've dealt with it myself, and I've been there. I kind of always knew that I had this cycle of like eating clean and then binge eating and then going around and around again. I came across an article about binge eating disorder and I just thought, holy crap, this is me to a T. I didn't even realize this was a thing. And I ticked a lot of those boxes. So a lot of those boxes was eating for emotion, almost going on autopilot while you're doing it. So it's sort of like you're not even aware that you do it, and then you're overeating, and then you look back and you're like, holy crap, what did I just do? And then feeling absolute guilt, shame, disgust, disappointment in yourself, and just feeling really negative towards yourself. There are other signs as well. One of them being, which I used to struggle with, is being really embarrassed if anyone knew or found out what you'd done. So for me and a lot of people, they'll hide wrappers or things like that. So I would go to the bin and like pick up old wrappers, put my wrappers under, and then put stuff on top. Like that's how embarrassed I was, or trying to hide the fact that I'd just eaten all that food. That's not normal behavior. There's a difference between kind of like overeating a little bit and being like, shit, why did I do that? And not feeling any like shame and guilt towards yourself after, and binge eating disorder. The second thing to understand is that you can fix it. I've written down a couple of tips. Tip 1 is know your emotional triggers. My emotional triggers were really negative feelings, so my number one emotional trigger was stress. My binge eating would always flare up throughout times of exams or just whenever I was getting really overwhelmed with life and I was sort of like, I can't deal with everything. Food. I would be generally eating really healthy, and then something really stressful would happen and I would start like wanting to eat chocolate, and you know, people would be like, why are you doing that? And I'd be like, I'm just really stressed, like I can't think about anything else right now, I just need chocolate, it's gonna fix everything. And then it never does, but at the time your mind doesn't know that. Your mind goes, food is the fix. And often what would happen is I would have just had like almost, maybe even sometimes a whole block of chocolate, and then I've gone, well, I've screwed up now, why the hell did I do that? And then I would open a bag of chips, and then I would open something else. I'd already ruined my day, so I may as well have just kept eating. And then sometimes I would just feel physically sick and then was like, why did I do that? That was stupid. Food is not going to make you feel better. Feeling better starts with up here. So whether yours is stress, boredom, whether it's anxiety, you need to know what it is. So for me, if I start feeling really stressed now, and then my mind even goes to food, I know, oh, I'm stressed. My mind is trying to say that that's a fix. It's not. And then I can go back and address, okay, I'm obviously really stressed if I'm even starting to consider the fact that I need food. And then I can manage that in other ways. So if stress is one for you, I find meditation really helps. And then the other thing is take the stressful situation, writing it down on paper in steps. Prioritize things, and don't just prioritize them up here, write them down on paper. It seriously makes a difference. So tip 2 is knowing your food triggers. For me, there were certain foods I know that if I had them once, I was not going to stop. Super, super weird, and everyone will have different triggers, but so randomly for me, you can get from a supermarket this white chocolate almond spread, and I would have that in my pantry, and I know it was super, super high in fat and things like that, and one day I'd be like, oh, I'm just gonna have like a little bit on like a corn thin, but that was a trigger food for me. So once I had that little amount that was on that corn thin, like half a teaspoon, I had that taste in my mouth. And then I would have a little teaspoon and I'd be like, I need to have another teaspoon and another teaspoon. And then all of a sudden I've had like 5 teaspoons and I'm like, why did I do that? I know that that is so, so bad for me. Whatever, who even cares anymore? And then I would reach for the chocolate, the chips, the whatever else was available to me. If there is a food for you which is a trigger, get rid of it. Do not have it around. And if it is around and you can't avoid it, do not let yourself think that you can have just a little bit. You need to know that's unfortunate, but that's one of those foods that I just can't have without going overboard. In my household, we have blocks of chocolate. I'm talking there's probably like minimum 6 blocks of chocolate at a time. There's blocks of Kit Kat, there's blocks of Top Deck, there's bags of chips, there's shapes, there's lollies. There is so much food in our house, it's a joke. But they're not triggers, so I can look at that chocolate and I do not have any emotional attachment or need for it. And I'm also okay with having 4 squares and stopping. The issue is when there's a food that you have and all of a sudden you're spiraling out of control. They're the foods you need to know, be aware of them and get rid of them. Tip number 3, tell somebody. I dealt with this for a long time on my own. Once I kind of realized it was a problem, I sort of told my mum, so she became a bit more aware of it. And then eventually I told my boyfriend as well. So it got to the point where I now had someone that knew, which meant I had a bit of support there. Whether it's your mum, your dad, your brother, your sister, it doesn't matter, but tell someone and have them there as a bit of a backbone to help you kind of get out of that habit. Number 4 is probably the most important tip for me. That is destroy all or nothing thinking. So I have not met anyone that has binge eating disorder that does not have an all or nothing mentality. It is not all or nothing. You do not have to have nothing or everything. You can have a slice of pizza or a little donut or whatever. Like if you've had that, you need to understand you have not sabotaged yourself. You have not wrecked your diet, lost progress or anything like that. It's the binge and the foods that follow that which are sabotaging you. So next time if you do have something, stop and say to yourself, I hadn't planned to have that, but I really enjoyed it and that's okay, and it's alright to treat myself once in a while. That's how you need to start thinking about things. Don't talk negatively about yourself because you've made one little error or had something that you didn't plan to have. Like, it's totally okay. Number 5, do not let your habit define or control you. And what I mean by that is that once I realized I had binge eating disorder, it was good because I kind of knew I had a problem, but it was also really bad because I had binge eating disorder. I remember one time I had a binge and I told my boyfriend after, I was like, I binged today. And he was like, why did you do that? Like, you were doing so well. And I was like, I can't control it. I have binge eating disorder. It's out of my control. That is a massive lie to yourself. You can have binge eating disorder, but you are still in control. Every decision you make comes down to you. Don't separate or personify this disorder as something separate. That's really important. Tip number 6 is create distraction. It's actually been proven that a true craving only lasts for 3 minutes. Anything after 3 minutes, you're actually not craving a food anymore. It's just completely mental. Next time you have a craving, a really, really bad craving, or next time you feel the urge to binge or anything like that, just tell yourself, promise yourself that you will distract yourself for 3 minutes. Get up, make a cup of tea, go for a walk, call a friend, call a family member and have a chat. Do something which is going to occupy you for 3 minutes. If after 3 minutes that craving's gone, well, you've won. If after that 3 minutes you're still really got that strong urge, you know it's completely mental. That's coming back to knowing your emotional triggers. So if you've still got that craving after 3 minutes, it's likely that you're experiencing one of those triggers. So you can turn around and say, I actually am really feeling like that because I'm stressed. What can I do to cure that stress? I'm going to go for a walk, I'm going to meditate, so forth. So it really helps you take a couple of steps back to solve the problem. Tip 7 is practice mind control. You need to have a set of positive affirmations in place, and these need to be really strong, really powerful affirmations. When you want to binge and you know that nasty voices in your head like do it, like you deserve it, or it starts rationalizing things for you, it's not rational to binge eat, but your mind will start rationalizing it like, you've had a big week, don't worry about it, you'll feel really good after, you're doing really awesome, so one thing won't hurt. You need to have these affirmations back in place that you can say, no, I do not need this, I am in control, I can walk away from this. And these need to be really powerful. And when you say this, you need to say these to yourself in your head. So when you go to binge eat, you literally need to hear yourself in your head saying, no, I don't want this. I am so much stronger than this. I can walk away. And at the end of the day, if you can let that strength shine through and continually repeat those positive affirmations, you will and can walk away. That leads me on to point 8, which is celebrate the wins. After you do walk away, knowing there is no better feeling I remember than when I was trying to overcome binge eating and I knew that I really wanted to, and I got through the end of the day and I was jumping into bed and I was like, I could have binged today, I didn't. That was the most fulfilling feeling ever, and I was so proud of myself. Don't just let it get to the end of the day and you thought, I didn't binge today. Celebrate it, like feel good about yourself, and then next time you go to binge, remind yourself of how good it felt and how empowered you felt when you said no, and really remind yourself of that positive feeling and that self-satisfaction that you're going to feel when you can turn around and say no. They're my main tips. There are other things as well, but I think they're the most important. 100% of it comes to you working on your mind, your mentality, and that you're trusting yourself that you can do it. If you're having problems with this, feel free to message me, email me, whatever. I'm happy to answer any questions or help anyone through this. I've been there. I know exactly how it feels. And other than that, if this video was helpful, please give it a like or subscribe. Thanks, guys.